So, Sami, well, the name of your documentary is called Open Field, and you're the main character, and the director is Kathy Kuras.
Kathy Kuras, yeah.
Yeah. And how did they found you and the story?
Well, Kathy and I were working on music together. We had just done some work with for a soundtrack for a web series, and it ended up doing really well. We ended up getting like 5 Grammy pre-nominations for it, and through that process, I was also playing football. So we became closer friends, and she found out about the whole world, my alter ego, my quarterback ego, and she like jumped in, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, like." This world is so interesting. Like, I didn't even know this existed. And we have to tell this story. And this is incredible. And I told her about my background and how I played when I was in high school. And she's like, yeah, this story needs to be told. So Kathy started taking interviews and going to practices and, getting really wrapped up in the world of women's tackle football. And 6 years later, we ended up with Open Field.
Wow. And the documentary starts with a quote that women will never play football and that your dream didn't exist. Can you tell us something more about it?
Yeah. So back when I was a kid, I'd rather not say, but I mean, if you watch the film, you'll know how old I am. So I guess it doesn't matter. When I was a kid, it was 1995, I played my first season of tackle football with the boys. And there was nothing on the radar about women doing anything. There wasn't anything that existed at the time of women playing tackle football. And it wasn't until I went to college in Chicago for acting that I found out that there was an entire league that existed that came about right around when I was a senior in high school, but it hadn't really gotten widespread knowledge yet. And there weren't that many teams back then. So anyway, in college, I found out that Chicago had a team, and I started playing for them. And so it was kind of crazy. It was like I just pursued the thing that I loved and didn't care about what the outcome was going to be, just that I wanted to enjoy the moment and get to play it as long as I could. And then the rest of the world opportunities started to pop up, and other people started creating leagues and opportunities for women to play.
In the beginning, you also had to do a Hell Week.
Oh, yeah.
And what was that?
It was, Hell Week is just a grueling 7 days of very intense physical and mentally demanding activities. We would do, sprints. And then when we finished sprints, we'd hit the weight room, and then we had to go run up to the top of a hill and do that 4 times and then run back. I mean, people are puking all over the place, and there's, And
you were the only girl?
I was the only female, in high school. Yeah. I remember we did this thing called Dog Hill, which was, we were the Terriers and we call ourselves dogs, but spelled DAWG because sports. And and I remember you had to run up it 4 times, and after each one you'd say a D and then an A. And I think on the 4th time, one guy pukes, and then it was a chain reaction. It was just puke, puke, puke. And I was like, I can't be the girl that puked. I can't be one of the people that puked, because they'll expect it, me being the girl. Yeah. So I didn't puke. I've never puked.
Oh, wow.
In that situation, but there were a lot of guys that did. And
for your whole career, you actually had to fight like being the only girl, probably.
Yeah, when I was younger, yeah. And then when I was in college, and then I, found out that there was this women's pro team that was in Chicago. It was all women. So it was definitely a transition for me, because I was used to being around only men or boys when I was younger. And then now, as an adult, I was then playing with all women.
Yeah. So, and you also mentioned before, you said it was between dreams and goals. So you put goals for yourself.
Yeah. A lot of people, like I say in the film, a lot of people started defining what I was wanting to do as a dream. Like, this is a dream of yours. And as I got to be older, I realized that it's just, you can set goals for yourself. These are goals. They're attainable. You don't have to put it so lofty as if it's so far away. And I think when you treat it like a goal, when you call it a goal, you're more likely to create action steps around achieving it instead of a dream where it's kind of a passive thing. And I'd be like, that'd be nice if it happened. Wouldn't that be amazing if that happened? But there's not really, action is not a part of a dream as much as a goal is. And so I'm even still trying to change my brain around that. Even if I still have dreams or goals that I would like to attain with my music and a bunch of other things. So I'm trying to change my brain into saying, this is a goal. This is not a dream. I just have to create the action steps to achieve it.
Well, you already mentioned your music, and we will talk about it later on, but you also became a leader in your field. And was it natural for you to be a leader?
I think it was pretty natural for me to be a leader, but it didn't start that way. I think that every great leader starts as a follower because it allows you to see the full scope of the experience of being on a team. And, when I first started, I was a bench warmer. And then it was an opportunity, an unfortunate opportunity, but the quarterback broke his arm my first season when I was 10. And I kind of got thrown into that position, but I had already had all this experience of kind of being the runt of the litter on a team, if you will, just because I was a female. I was certainly not the smallest, but because we were 10 and I was a tall girl, but there was an element of learning a lot. You do a lot of learning when you are on the sidelines. You see team dynamic, you understand what it feels like to be in that position and understand that every role on the team has importance. And as I got older, and especially when I started playing for the women's teams, I learned, because the social aspect wasn't there anymore. I just got to be a football player because I was one of many women. And, I recalled a lot of times where I called back on my experience as a bench warmer and tried to be as empathetic and understanding of every role on the team. And I think that really does help as a leader to have an understanding of what everybody's going through and trying to figure out what people need so that the team can function at the highest level.
Yeah, and you had a lot of success, but you also had a lot of hard moments. How do you stay motivated? And how do you motivate your team?
I mean, I think that's where passion comes in, and a love for your teammates. That's why I think really great teams have a shared common goal and respect for one another. It's truly the greatest love story because it's not only two people, it's 45, and trying to, find the perfect click of personality and dynamic for 45 people, not just two, is challenging. But I think, there were times where my passion was what drove me through the hardship. And there were times where my teammates drove me through the hardship, just not wanting to let them down, wanting to be there for them, wanting to be held accountable and be reliable. Those were the things that kept me going. So sometimes it was internal self passion, drive, and a lot of times it was the team and just wanting to be there for them
yeah. And at a certain point, your body gave up. You got injured, and you kind of felt it was like a sign to start also your new career.
Yeah. Well, I was actually always doing music. And like I said before, I came from a musical family and I grew up in the arts. My parents thought that I was somebody else's kid because your
family was not interested in sport, isn't it?
No, not at all. They weren't interested at all. And so I grew up more around the arts when I was growing up. And that was very much like, that's the family business, And it wasn't until I got older that I really kind of found my voice in that. And by older, I mean like high school. And that's what ended up, I ended up going to college for theater, but I was doing music while I was playing football. Music was, I wanted to act, but I couldn't play football and act at the same time because I couldn't be like, oh yeah, by the way, I have a game on Saturday. So I did stage acting and I couldn't be like, I need an understudy for Saturdays, especially when you're starting out in your career, you couldn't do that. So I started doing more music stuff because I could book my own gigs and set my own schedule. And I kind of thought of music as a way to act, 30 tiny characters in each song a night. And that's really what threw me into music right when I was 20. So I was always juggling music and football throughout my entire career.
Well, one of the goosebump moments in the documentary is when you sing the national anthem.
Yeah.
And I thought it was beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was a really powerful moment, I think. And it was all happenstance. Again, the thing that's funny about it is, even as I'm talking to you right here, I'm realizing how many things were happenstance that were opportunities. And it was just like, my first season, the quarterback broke his arm, and that's what made me starting quarterback. And, what happened in that game where 3 quarterbacks, in high school, 3 quarterbacks go down in one game, or 2 quarterbacks go down in one game. And that gives me an opportunity to, start for the rest of the season. And, all of these different elements that had to take place, even going to a theater school. And that's how I discovered that there's a women's tackle football, team in Chicago. There's all of these crazy, crazy things, but I think it was just, the opportunities came around, and I was always, I didn't give up on wanting to better myself in those fields. And then I was able to capitalize on those opportunities. So it's what
Steve Jobs said, it's connecting the dots afterwards, that when you look back, you think like, oh, this happened because of that. And
Exactly.
So, and how is your music career going now?
It's great. It's actually great. We have, which is hard to say. I say actually great because, the pandemic, and it's been difficult to not play live shows, because that's truly my favorite part of being a musician, is being in a room and connecting with a group of strangers. And, it feels like a team. I like the connection part. The community, I think, is what I love most about both football and music, or the arts, the performing arts. But it's going really well. We just filmed a music video for the song Manifest, which I'm sure you heard a few times in the documentary. And we filmed it at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, which I believe we're the first to ever film a music video there. And certainly the first female quarterback to ever film a music video there. So that's going to be coming out January 12th, 2022. And
we're gonna link the Spotify your account on this video, so you
great,
yes. And
so the Arrival's already on Spotify as well, which you've also heard in there, and Key of Us. So you can listen to those now.
And what is the role of football in your life nowadays?
Well, I think football will always have a major role in my life, and it, just again about the lessons I learned with leadership and gritting through. I always think of this phrase. It's like 4th and inches. Is a phrase that happens in football, is when you have your last opportunity to go a short distance, but to have a great reward on the other side. And I always try to think of life as, everything is 4th and inches. You always have to try to give maximum effort, and you don't know if the end zone is right there. You don't know how close success is. Yeah. And you just have to push as if it's merely inches away. And I think that those kinds of things, those metaphors and those similes are very much present in my daily experience for whatever I'm working on and whomever I'm working with. So football will be ever constant in my life.
I think that's a beautiful, beautiful quote to end our interview. And I want to wish you all the luck with the new documentary, and of course with your own music. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.